But then on top of that, to build on what do you then do well? How are you as a company contributing to the sustainability of the society you're part of? So for the math group, it would be to really make a meaningful proposition about how to make transportation easier in this case. In our case, it would be how to provide more effective treatment for more effective chronic care treatment. So each company would have its rationale and what it is contributing to. And I believe that the baseline of what investors are asking is actually what is going to be the compliance. I think that was also discussed earlier this afternoon, that there's a compliance level of having a human rights policy, having a diversity management. That is just what is being expected. And then what the Commission is articulating is put it on the table. Let's tell us what they are so we know. And then from our perspective as companies, our task is really to demonstrate that there's a net positive value from having this company in existence. Namely that the positive impacts that we can make are bigger than the negative ones. Because if they are not, you should disinvest in the company. Right?
Let's, you've used the word integrated a few times here. Let's have the IIRC conversation. You're not using IIRC, and you're not so keen on it, I seem to remember from our conversation earlier.
Oh, I hope I have not conveyed that well then, because I'm very keen on the IRC, and I have to be. I've been on the. I think you're probably mixing us up.
Yes, I was on the phone before.
So let me keep the word then.
Right, right.
And say a few words about
and then you'll have your chance to come back at this.
Then we can disagree afterwards.
Okay, that's right.
So I mean, integrated reporting could be a long and heated debate, and I think we should let the ones who are really keen to have that stay. And so I have been privileged to be part of the working group that's been developing the framework that is coming out for public consultation in a few weeks on the 16th of April. But having said that, I would say, no, we are not reporting against the framework. I think nobody is at the moment. Right. So that is a journey. And I think that what the framework is going to devise is really to capture how companies in their narrative part can address some of these issues that we are doing. What it's not doing is it's not setting standards for what should be the data sets, what should be the material, or identifying what should be material and what should be immaterial information. That is for others to do. So I think the IRC is really a movement that is intending to bring convergence around this issue. And we need as many supporters as we can get from as many sides as possible.
So it's a common set of standards. Now, sorry, I got it wrong, and I've just looked through my notes, and it was indeed you who said that you were a bit sceptical. So I mean, why are you sceptical?
Well, just to avoid any misunderstandings, I'm not against integrated reporting, but I am a bit concerned about it, and also from what I've seen coming up, even though it's still very early days, and I think we should all recognize that integrated reporting tends to mean less sustainability information. And unless you actually have an integrated reality, then I think the whole ESG or sustainability side is losing out. So that's one risk. Another risk is that if it's not a reflection of a real integrated reality, then there tend to be you tend to see some cynicism inside the company, because employees will quickly recognize, they know how it is, and they know if the company is trying to make a picture of itself as having all these things integrated, when the reality is that that's not the case. Then you create cynicism inside the organization, and you don't want that, and it's particularly not on these topics. So those are my concerns. Of course, we are all moving towards an integrated reality, because that's the ideal, that's how it should be. And then I think we should get integrated reporting as a reflection of that.
Mm-hmm. And Erica, you're actually also, like Suzanne, playing a role in putting this together. So we have to declare that interest. But tell us what you want.
Well, I do sit on the working group, a brand new member of the working group for the IRC. I think Annette's concerns are extremely valid. And I think that what we need to do is find a pragmatic way forward. And so my larger engagement is actually in the US with something called the SASB, the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. And I would argue, and this comes from, pre my kind of investment days, but I spent some years working at IBM, and companies like IBM and GE would tell you that with standards, you can have more innovation. What we're talking about in terms of culture and consciousness, we're talking about finding companies with a culture of innovation. And innovation doesn't happen as quickly until you have some standards. And they may not be perfect, but they do start to allow you to be on the same footing. They start to allow you to benchmark, compare, and look for progress. And a lot of the research out there would show you, and there's some MSCI work, and there's work from, there's a meta-study from the Deutsche Bank Climate Advisors. There's a lot of studies that would show you that it is about the momentum in progress and ESG factors that you start to see real economic outperformance and real market outperformance. But again, you have to have a starting point, and you have to have a common ground. So SASB has what I think is a piece of infrastructure that seems to have been missing in this debate, which is an evidence-based engine to show us materiality, a materiality map based upon data. And then you can start to find a cost-efficient way to have companies who want to disclose the right things, a more, again, a pragmatic approach to transparency, which really can be transformational if we are talking about integrated thinking. And again, the pragmatism around SASB and this materiality map really does relate to the fact that there is a very focused, the stakeholder really is the shareholder. It is for the investor. Okay, and it's come about through a collaborative industry approach, very complementary, really, to the IRC efforts, to the GRI.
So, Suzanne, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to, in the provocative vein we're in, so let me just provoke Verica for once, because we support SASB, but in actual fact, I would prefer there were no FASB and no SASB, but an ASB. Because I think that's what we need, right? So we don't need to counter the fact that we have financial standards and then we come up with our own standards for E and S and G. We have FASB and then we come up with SASB. So my vision really is that once we get it right, we have an annual report that presents a company's performance and its position for the future in a 360-degree perspective, which includes financials. But that's not where we are. Where we are is that we have financial reporting, and then we stick in some sustainability information as we can get around to it. So that would be where I would like IRC to go.
So proper
eventually.
integration. Paul, what are you expecting?
We would like firms to tell the story that they want to tell. So if a firm is ready for integrated reporting and it makes sense for the firm to do that, then that sends a signal to us as an investor about the behaviour of the firm. So that's an indication of the way the story goes. If the company wishes to park the ESG reporting to a separate report, a separate part of the annual report, because that's the way the company knows how to tell the story, then that's where we would like to see it. The difficulty that the integrated reporting brings to us is when you have companies reporting in different formats, or some keeping a separate ESG report, some integrating, it makes it quite difficult for us as an investor with limited resource to be able to know where to find the information. And information retrieval is very, very important for us. So I think the format is very telling of the type of company that lies underneath. what we would want to see is electronic tagging of the information. And I mentioned this to Erica. This is where a narrative reporting template would have an XBRL underneath, where we're actually tagging the information, and then investors, no matter where it is in the annual report or outside the annual report, we can pull it. And so we can read the integrated report or the separate reports, and we can also pull the information out, so we can pull the benchmarks and the metrics. And that way we can make better use of our limited resource.
But
and that seems to be a happy...
That seems to make a lot of sense, and technologically ought to be perfectly deliverable. But there is a question if you're of verification, isn't there? If some bits of information are in the annual report and verified or audited, and some bits aren't.
That's not a problem of that's not a problem of electronic tagging. That's a problem of the location of the information.
But anything which is tagged ought to be verified, oughtn't it?
If it had come from the annual report, one would hope that would be an annual report tag line item. So you know that the directors have looked over that and signed off, that they agree with it. If it's an outside the annual report tagged item, you would want to know that, because the two are differentiated, definitely.
I should just say, for the benefit of the doubt, if anybody was thinking that what I just said about anything which is tagged should be verified, this is not an official FRC position, just so everybody's clear, just an idea which came to me in the moment. Suzanne, just one more thing on this, then I'd like to have a quick run through whether the European Commission's policy is helpful or not, and then we want to open it out to some questions and discussion. So the last word on integrated reporting.
Very briefly, I think in our experience, integrated reporting is very much like the therapy area that we're working with, namely diabetes, because we see integrated reporting as chronic, progressive, and irreversible. So to the point that Annette is making, you have to be really sure of what you do when you start doing an integrated report. And I can tell from personal experience, it is painful. You have to let go of very valuable information on sustainability that you could otherwise put in a sustainability report. But in our experience, you have to let go in order to get something new. And what we have gained may not be seen in the report, but that is really by forcing those conversations inside the organization. So I'm fully behind what Annette says, that you have to be prepared for an integrated way of working. But it doesn't come on its own. And I think we can sit here and talk for hours and ends without getting anywhere. But we all know that if we actually have to roll up our sleeves and get a piece of work done together, and there's nothing more concrete than actually doing an annual report, and then bringing the right people around the table, then new conversations arise.
Can we just move on to the European Commission's agenda here? We are expecting quite soon to have this statement about corporate responsibilities disclosure. Clearly there is a desire to raise the bar, and we have, I've heard the Commission say this before, surprisingly few companies actually apparently all complying with existing directives on this area, 3,000, whereas perhaps 40,000 should be, and the Commission is trying to improve the performance there, but there is a distinction made between the larger and the smaller companies. Erica, do you feel the Commission so far has been helpful? And please say if you don't, because they'll note it down, it'll go back to Brussels, and the world will change as a result. If you do, they'll probably they'll doubtless be very pleased. But I mean, just tell us also what you'd like to see them do.
I mean, you know, full disclosure, I sit here as an American, you know, who's observed, you know, what some of the things that the EC does, and I think they're incredibly progressive and thoughtful, as does this appear to be, you know, for me. But I don't think I'm in the best position to comment on it. But progressive, inclusive thinking towards transparency is good. And so I'll leave it at that.
Incredibly progressive and thoughtful. I'm sure they'll love it.
We welcome comments from outside Europe.
Yes. Annette, what about you?